everybody. It is now early August 2015, and Windows 10 has been released. It's out in the wild now, getting installed on lots and lots of computers. And there's been a lot of controversy going on about Windows 10 lately. A whole lot of different topics about it. Therefore, we're going to discuss some of those things today, just in case some of you guys may not have heard about this. So, anyways, going to get started. I've been working on computers for 10 years now, since 2005, and I've been following Windows for pretty much the whole time. And basically, with Windows 10, I've seen something I've never seen in the past with Microsoft. Usually if you think of upgrading to a new version of Windows, you normally think, oh, that's going to set me back at least $100 for a new copy of Windows. Because it used to be, you would have a copy of Windows get released, and you would have some service packs get released afterwards, and roughly a few years or so later, you would get a new version of Windows. And the only way to get that new version of Windows, if you own it, was to pay up $100 or so for the license and upgrade to it. But with Windows 8, they changed things a little bit different. Back then, they were offering Windows 7 users, the chance to upgrade to Windows 8 for a very, very low price. I think it was like, what, 13 or 14 bucks there for a while. It's really, really dirt cheap. And just trying to get people to get Windows 8, because we all know how much Windows 8 sucks. Not necessarily the operating system itself, but the user interface was just awful. So Microsoft was, I guess, was desperate to try to get people to upgrade to it. And Windows 8 just never really took off. 8.1 did a little bit better, but it never really got the amount of usage share that Windows 7 or Windows XP has gotten. So anyways, fast forward to this year, 2015. We hear the news that Windows 10, or back in late 2014, they was still calling it Windows 9. And they were saying it was going to likely be a free upgrade for Windows 8 users. But in 2015, we eventually heard that it's going to be free for both Windows 8, 8.1, and Windows 7 users as well. And that's what really struck me as odd is, Microsoft, normally how greedy for money they are, they're just handing out this new operating system to anybody, pretty much anybody that has Windows 7 or Windows 8.1, as long as it's not an enterprise copy. Heck, even if your copy of Windows 7 or 8 is not genuine, or better yet, let's say if you activate, use some sort of alternative method, and it recognizes as genuine, you could probably upgrade to Windows 10 and get a perfectly genuine copy. And it's crazy how they're just handing out Windows 10, just handing it out to people. Normally, in the past, if you owned a new operating system, you had to pay $100-something bucks to get it. Not anymore, apparently. Now, this Windows 10 free upgrade is available until later on next year. So it's going to be available for a full year or so after the OS is released. So if you decide to upgrade to it during that time frame, you can do it free of charge. But there's a lot of controversy going on about it, and it seems like here lately Microsoft has been trying to engineer Windows to be more or less a service. They're saying that Windows 10 will be quote-unquote the last release of Windows. We'll see about that. And they're saying that it's going to be around, or at least its lifetime support cycles going to be significantly longer than, let's say, Windows 7 or Windows 8. It's going to be around. They're going to support it for supposedly a bit more than 10 years. Now, if you look back at Windows XP, it was released in 2001, and due to user demand, they kept supporting it until last year. April 2014 is when they finally stopped supporting it. But there's a lot of things about Windows 10 that I've heard about it. Basically, they're saying it's going to be evolving over time. So instead of having to buy a whole new operating system, your existing OS will continue to evolve over time. Now, generally, let's say a new version of Windows gets released probably every 3 to 6 years or so. Windows XP was released in 2001. Windows Vista early 2007, has 6 years. Fast forward to 2009, Windows 7, so that's 3 years. Windows 8 was what, 2012? So, another 3 years there. In Windows 10, it's 13, 14, 15, so another 3 years. So, every 3 to 6 years or so, a new version of Windows gets released. But with Windows 10, they're saying it's just going to be around for so long, and it's just going to evolve over time instead of having new release at, every 3 to 6 years. And when you install Windows 10, if you go through the setup process, instead of using Express Settings, can you customize everything? There's a lot of things in there that will kind of catch your eyes. As, what the heck is that? Basically, in Windows 10, there's a lot of privacy issues, I guess I could say, that are going on with it. It's, basically what I think Microsoft is doing, they're trying to get everybody to get Windows 10. So that way everybody will be pretty much on the boat now with Windows 10. So that way Microsoft can force feed the users ads through the apps and force updates on the home users. Yeah, I'll get back to that. Force updates on home users and charge users for basic features that were free in existing versions of Windows. I'll come back to that as well. So yeah, as I mentioned, they're trying to get everybody onto Windows 10, and they're trying that way they can force feed them ads. And there's a number of things that are really kind of catchy about the OS. By default, Microsoft will basically, the OS will send lots of information to Microsoft that you probably wouldn't really want them to be sent. So basically, you can sign up with a Microsoft account and this amplifies even further. But let's say, you're at your computer and you're searching, you're typing in things. There's clauses in the EULA that say that Microsoft may collect, information that you type, your searches to improve the searches in other services. They may collect, certain bits of personal information to improve the apps and, all that kind of stuff. Now, you think of it this way, let's say, for example, in Google Chrome or in Google Search, Google Search, the way that Google's instant search works is they do capture, common searches from users, the searches that people type in, that Google collects this information to use it to improve their instant search. So that way when you're typing in something, it will automatically start popping up lists of results of things that people normally search for. Another example, let's say, would be Google Chrome. Google Chrome, if you sign in with your Google account, Chrome will send your bookmarks, your customizations, I believe in some cases your saved passwords and data like that to Google servers, so that way when you sign into another computer and you install Chrome on that computer, you can sync your browser with the other computer or your phone or any other device. Now, I personally do have my Google account signed, my Chrome browser signed in, so that way I have my data on different machines. But that's sort of a similar way that Microsoft is doing things, but it's a bit further than that. So yeah, I mentioned that Microsoft is stating they'll be collecting information from things that you type to improve, like Cortana, things like that, improve your searches. They're also going to be collecting information. You're going to also have what's called an advertiser ID on your OS. Yes, Microsoft is using your software installation as a way to advertise to you. And this really started to show up in Windows 8 with some of the new apps that came out in Windows 8. For example, the Weather app. If you open the Weather app, you'll find ads in it. And this thing, the operating system and the software you paid for, you're seeing ads in it. It's kind of like paying for cable TV and seeing ads on almost every single freaking channel. Not fair, is it? But it is what it is, apparently. And they're doing this even further. With Windows 10, supposedly they're collecting information from you to serve you better ads. It sounds kind of like Google in a way. They're collecting information to serve you better ads. You have your own advertising ID, and there's some other things I've noticed about Windows 10 is that with the updates in Windows 10 Home, the EULA states that automatically updates are just automatically available, and in true detail with Windows 10 Home, you cannot defer updates. You can't stop them. They're just coming as they go. And your computer will, you can either install updates now or schedule to install at different times. So Microsoft consents automatically to restart your computer without your, Microsoft will restart your computer without your consent to install updates automatically, whether you like it or not. Whether the updates are fully legit and tested or not, they're getting installed anyway. That's already happened one time with Windows 10. There was a bad update that messed with, I think it was actually an NVIDIA driver update for some computers. Got installed and screwed things up, automatically. The customer couldn't stop it, so bam, it got installed and their computers got messed up. And it seems like the only way you can stop updates from coming automatically, where you can defer updates, is by using Windows 10 Pro, which comes with quote-unquote Windows Update for Business. Now, like everybody, now, like businesses are the only, business owners are the only people that would want to defer updates. There are a lot of home users out there that would like to defer them too. Now, I think Microsoft's reasoning for trying to force updates on Windows 10 home users is because there are a lot of average Joes out there who just, they don't install updates. Trust me, they don't install them. Trust me, I've been doing this for years and I've seen it myself. Computers come in for repairs that are like 2 to 3 years behind on updates. For example, within the past year I got a Windows Vista computer that had no service packs. It was just Windows Vista. 2007 compliant, no service packs in 2015. So yeah, it is sort of Microsoft saying, hey, we're going to force updates on home users because at times people don't ever install updates anyway, so we'll force them to ensure that the OS is currently up to date and all the security patches are installed. I can sort of understand this being, the case for security patches, but it's still really a controversial thing. I personally prefer to have control of my computer and when I can and cannot install updates. And there is a tool out there that can be used that I've heard to defer certain updates in Windows 10. It's like a third-party, well, it's a Microsoft thing, but it's a thing you can download and run to block certain updates from being automatically installed. But other than that, if you're on Windows 10 home, you pretty much have no control of your updates. They're just coming as they go. You can't stop them. So in Windows 10, you're being forced to install updates in the home version, whereas, like say, in Windows 7, you had the option to, be notified of updates, but choose whether to download or install them, or to download updates but notify whether to install them. Let you choose what you do and do not want to have installed on your computer. And that's, that's the thing. It's like your rights of your personal machine are being taken away with Windows 10. That bird didn't sound happy. So, anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the pricing thing that I think I covered earlier just a little bit. Windows 10, they're handing this out to you for free, but it appears that there's some things that are going to be missing that you have to pay for to get back. For example, this is a really good one. Windows 95, they came out with a lot of different games. Now, I think some of these games were also Windows 3.1, but you had Solitaire, Hearts, Minesweeper, things like that, and in later versions of Windows, such I think it's like Windows ME or Windows 2000, introduced Spider Solitaire. In Windows XP, you had pretty much the whole lineup of games. And when Windows Vista came out, they revamped all those games and made them 3D and things like that. Up the graphics of them. And in Windows 7 you had them. Windows 8, not really sure if you had them or not. But I think you may have. But in Windows 10, definitely for sure. If you take a careful look at Windows 10, it does not come with the common basic games like Solitaire, Minesweeper, and things like that. They pulled them out, but saying, hey, we're going to offer the Microsoft Solitaire Collection. You can download this basic and suite of games for free, but we're going to feed you ads to use them. So you're going to get advertisements to use the same things you could use in Windows 95 for free. And they're saying, if you want to get rid of these advertisements, you can subscribe to our premium suite of games. Yeah, you got to pay for it. You got to pay for it. So yeah, they're going. It's like a subscription thing. Windows as a service. We're going to make you pay to get some of these features back. You can get the OS for free for the first year. If you decide to upgrade to it during that time. But we're going to make you pay to get these certain things back. Another example would be. I did a whole video last night of Windows Me setting up being in Windows 10. But if you reflect back to Windows 8 and 8.1, they charged you had to pay for professional, Windows 8 Pro and Media Center add-on pack just to get the same Media Center back that was available in Windows 7 for free. So in Windows 8, they took away the right to be able to play DVDs using Windows Media Player, despite the fact that Windows 8 and Windows 10 both have Media Player 12, the same thing as in Windows 7, just without DVD playback functionality. So yeah, in Windows 8 and 8.1 you have to pay to get Media Center back, but in Windows 10 they're saying screw you, we're not going to include it at all. But we'll give you, for all you Media Center users out there, despite that most of them actually didn't play DVDs, they watched TV, we're going to give you this this DVD option later this year. But now I'm hearing that basically it's going to be free for a limited time. But if you upgrade from Windows 7 or Windows 8, and I think you have Media Center, the Windows 10, you can get the Windows DVD player for free. But if you clean install, or if you, I guess if you upgrade after the upgrade period ends, you got to pay for it. Who in this day and age would pay for a freaking DVD software DVD player? I mean, there's VLC, other free apps out there you can download and install, and play your DVDs. I mean, but still, it's not 2005 anymore, so a lot of people have moved on from DVDs. There's services like Netflix and things like that, which Netflix does stream DVDs to the mail, but aside from that, they're wanting you to pay for certain things that were free in previous versions of Windows. And there's no telling what they're going to do in the future, because Windows 10 is apparently here to stay for many, many, many years. But it's got to evolve somehow, so I'm sure they'll probably release updates and say, oh, to get these new features, you got to pay for them. So yeah, that's the thing about Windows 10 that's a little controversial. There's a lot of privacy things, like they're collecting so much data, which you can turn most of this, if not all this stuff, off. But by default, most people, most people are going to click Express Settings and go on. But by default, it's going to collect, some information that you type, your searches. It's going to serve you ads based on what you do with your computer and things like that. Isn't that wonderful? And it's making Windows 7 look better and better and better. I did install Windows 10 on my Dell Inspiron 1525, and I've tested Windows 10 before its official release. I've tested the insider previews, tested the technical previews, and it's not a bad operating system. I still prefer Windows 7 over and away. Like the start menu in Windows 10 is an improvement over Windows 8's crappy start screen, but it's still inferior to Windows 7's start menu. It's like you still don't have as many features. Now, Windows 10 does have a very nice Explorer, File Explorer, have a nice Task Manager. I do like the Virtual Desktops feature. That's been well overdue for Windows. But I'm still questioning whether I'm going to even keep it on my Dell Inspiron 1525. Of course, now I have Windows 10 Pro on that machine, so I can defer updates. But still, it's just, especially with the home version, there's a lot of controversy going on, and I'm still kind of on the fence about what I think about it. So really, it's just a matter of sitting back and watch to see what happens. But I personally think that Windows 7 is the new Windows XP of today's age. Windows XP was used for so long because everybody liked it. It was so simple. It was very easy to use. When Windows Vista came out, it was a resource hog, especially for 2006 and 2007 compliant machines. I think Microsoft, they made a mistake on their minimum system requirements. A lot of machines that were deemed Vista ready were not really Vista ready, and they ran like crap with Windows Vista installed. But even when Windows 7 came out, people were still just clinging to XP because it was just what worked. And eventually, Windows XP did get support cut off, and a lot of people have upgraded to Windows 7. Windows 7 is an ideal operating system for the enterprise. I work in an enterprise environment, and I see Windows 7 in the enterprise, and it's the ideal OS for that thing. And a lot of home users like it because I think it's the last version of Windows that really was, I would say, sort of like XP. It was easy to use. You pretty much had control of your computer. Windows 8 has started to fade those rights away, and in Windows 10 they really faded them away in the home version. And I think Windows 7 is going to be around for a long time, and I won't be surprised that before the time that 2020 gets here, there's still going to be so many users on Windows 7 they're going to have to extend the support period for it. I could see Windows 7 being the new Windows XP, because it's going to be around for a while. And until Microsoft gets their act together and releases a version of Windows that lets the home user be in control of their computer, you know, it's kind of hard to say. You know, just for example, you know, we have Motorola BlackMax sitting over beside me. Although it does not run Windows Media Center, it does have a TV tuner installed. I may be able to upgrade that machine to Windows 10 and still run the Seton tuner in that machine, but with all these things going on, considering my mom and dad, they do like the old games like Solitaire and things like that. They like the simplicity of, you know, Windows 7 is familiar. I think I'll just keep that machine with Windows 7. Now again, with the simple games aspect, I'm sure you probably can port existing games from like XP or Vista or Windows 7 into Windows 10. Matter of fact, something I found really interesting about Windows 10 when I upgraded an existing Windows 7 computer to it is a couple of features were carried over from Windows 7 into Windows 10. For example, backup and restore. You know, the feature I was taking out in Windows 8.1. If you look in the control panel of a machine you upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10, you'll still see backup and restore there, and they'll say backup and restore in parentheses Windows 7, and the feature's still alive and kicking. You can still create system images and do all that kind of stuff with it. Now also, for those who care, you can actually install the Windows Vista Movie Maker in Windows 10. It will run just fine. It's the video editor that I use to edit the videos that I post to YouTube. And those are just a few examples. So anyways, these are my opinions on Windows 10 post-release. Now I may do a further in-depth video of Windows 10, you know, actually looking at it. But to be honest, the most recent build that I reviewed, one of the tech preview builds from not long ago, is the Insider Preview. It's really similar to the RTM release. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Any questions or comments? Feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.